Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Oliver Blackmore, back for episode 7. It's been a long time since we last chatted. A lot has happened. So much has happened. I was working on a tractor over there in the shop and I just stepped back to the house to have a little bathroom break. So, ready to get back to work. But first, let me show you something here. So we've gone out and had some signs made, and we put them up at the entrances to all our property areas, because we're really coming up in the world here. And you may be asking, how and why? I mean, since our last episode, we were still kind of struggling, putting everything in place, and as luck would have it, we not only met all of our field work goals, but we've surpassed them. I'm just getting ready to fertilize for the last time this season our potato fields, and as we're going along doing that, I'm going to tell you everything that's gone on, and I have so much to tell you, and we have so much to do, that it's going to take 2 episodes to get through it all because I don't want them very long. But we've got some new equipment and some other new things, and I'm going to tell you how we obtained it all. This is just a loaner. We're not keeping this. Such a dreadful looking little thing, but quite handy. Just going to go ahead and put our tractor back down here. So the dealership, a friend of mine down there, he loaned this out to me. So we'll be returning this in a day or 2. Just park it up over here for now. So another purchase that we made, we have to pick up today, and I can't do it on my own. There's an old John Deere tractor that we purchased from a farm on the outskirts of town. It's pretty old, but the purpose it's going to serve is going to be just perfect for me, and that purpose will be revealed in the next episode. This tractor comes with dual wheels already mounted on it. We can remove them before transporting it, but then I have to bring a trailer, I have to get the wheels up on the trailer, bring an air compressor and all that to get the wheels off. It's a huge hassle, and it does come at some expense. So I talked to the gentleman down at the Texaco station in town, and he's agreed to give us a helping hand, and he's going to bring his flatbed lorry down there to transport the tractor up to its new home. So that's going to be quite helpful. We don't have to worry about getting an escort from the local police because they charge money for that. That has to be done as overtime when the police are off duty. So that's one of their little overtime activities, and it costs quite a sum of money. So for a mere 40 pounds, he will transport it for me. All right, so what I got to do first is load up our spreader here. So I'll do the first bag with you on cam, and then when we come back, I'll fill you in on all the details of everything I've been yammering on about. There we are. I'm going to go ahead and cut the bottom of the bag out. Okay, so I'll be right back with you after this little message. All right, so that's the last bag, and it took all 3. Perfect. So what I'm going to do in the next segment of the video is, so I can concentrate on my work and my driving, I'm going to narrate over the footage, and I can also put the story together in my head in a way that I won't confuse all of you. So I hope you'll enjoy. Alrighty, so I'll start out by saying, as a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle, you lose nothing by committing a simple act of kindness. Now, of course, to help someone on a larger scale, well, yes, there is some risk involved most certainly. But I look at it this way. Without risk, where would we be today? Those who dare to explore the vast oceans of our world and have discovered countless new lands, what if they decided to say, no thanks, too risky? Let's take into account a more extreme example. What if women did not want to take on the countless risks and dangers of childbirth? We wouldn't be much of a society now today, would we? So thank you, Mom, for taking the risk. That all being said, this is a story about how one candle lit another until it caused a chain reaction, and it lit a community of candles and even more beyond the community. It all started with Sir Reefington, who lit up my candle. Out of kindness and a sense of obligation to my grandfather's memory, he took a chance on me, a Yank transplant. He loaned me money to resurrect Blackmore Farm. If you didn't see my vlog on this, then at the end of the video on screen you'll see a little playlist clip that you can click on and go right to the whole series. Anyway, this lit another candle which illuminated another kind soul, Alfie, who generously donated a great deal of time and muscle to help me restore the family farm. Again, done for free out of admiration for my grandparents and a shared vision of what this can become. Now, I paid Alfie what I could and when I could. This gave him some confidence as he had a little coin in his pocket to spend. But who did he want to spend it on? Well, as time passed, Alfie was chatting with a young lady he had his eye on, who, as luck would have it, worked for the town hall in the land records department. Alfie had asked her one day to look into the farm's records as he remembered it being a bit larger than what shows on the map that I have. After doing several months of digging, she came across a document stating an agreement with my grandfather and the town of Dusty Cove that was made some 30 years ago. Now, this document was buried and kept silent by a former official who was asked to move on, coincidentally, 2 years ago, due to his rather dodgy activities. But essentially, Grandfather donated a parcel of land adjacent to the castle park for a period of 20 years, as he could not afford the land tax or the cost of farming the field that was once there. So before he got into debt and arrears, he thought to offer it up. You see, this piece of land is worth several $1 million because of its location. It abuts the main road on the north end that cuts through town, and on the south end it provides a gorgeous cliffside ocean view. Grandfather knew if this land was taken away from him, that it would be sold off to real estate developers to build vacation homes for, as he put it, spoiled wealthy snobs, or even worse, condominiums. I can still hear him yelling about that. So he worked out an arrangement with this official to donate the land for a period of 20 years, figuring he would have the time to get it back as he got back on his feet and save a lot of money by not having to pay the upkeep and the tax on it. The town would, of course, cover all that in exchange for its use. They can do as they pleased with it, with two exceptions. They cannot sell it off, and they cannot build any permanent structures on the land. Now, the dodgy official, well, he was delighted and eager to take on this agreement, as he surmised that grandfather would never be in the position to get the land back anyway. Now, my grandfather also didn't want to make a big public spectacle about this, or any fanfare, as he personally saw this as a result of his failure to run his business proper, which is far from the truth. So, it was just a contract and a handshake over a cold dark beer down at the local pub. My grandfather never put the land in his will because as time passed, the farm just started to decline year by year. Then my grandparents passed away with no record of this agreement or my entitlement. It clearly stated in this agreement that if my grandfather passed away, the contract would pass to the next of kin in line: my grandmother, my mother, and then me. As it stands now, I'm the sole survivor on that list, so I should have been offered the opportunity to get the land back for a small portion of the taxes the town paid over the years. The contract came to term 10 years ago, and due to this criminal act by that official, the courts awarded me the land at no cost. So based on that land's value, I took my grandfather's idea and applied some measure of it to Sir Reefington. I invited him down to have a look at it and offered him a bargain, while wetting his whistle, of course, with a cold dark beer at that very same pub. I told him that I would give him this land if he agrees to wipe clear the $2 million he loaned me and pay me an additional $2 million. The land is clearly worth at least $5 million, if not more, so I felt it was fair. I also added that if he decides to sell it off at any point, that he would offer it back to me and or the town first at fair market value. So if I was to decline, then he would offer it back to the town for purchase. As an additional incentive not to sell it off to those developers that grandfather despised so much, I agreed that if he kept it as farm field, I would work his field for him at no additional cost for my equipment. He would only have to pay the base rate for the labor and provide, the seeds and the fertilizers, and then pay another base rate for us to transport his harvests to market. He would also be required to offer the sale of his crops to the local mills first at fair market value, of course, before shipping it out of the area. Much to my delight, he saw the value in all this, and he agreed. So this agreement will provide extra income and jobs for local mills and other businesses. It'll also create some new jobs and secure some current jobs that are in jeopardy right now. Of course, I'll need help farming and maintaining the property for Sir Reefington, and because of this newfound money, I'll also need a lot more equipment and help, so that means a lot more employment opportunities I personally can offer. That lights up several candles now, doesn't it? Now, as for that young lady I mentioned before, Janie, who found this land record, turns out her original ambition was to go to university to study agricultural science. She and her family need income, so she chose a full-time job over her studies. So I shared some of this newfound wealth with her, in my gratitude for her helping me out to start with. I would have never known about this land if not for her and Alfie. I gave her enough money to live on whilst she goes to school, and some to offset the loss of her income that her family needed. One of her focuses of study is to develop a soybean plant that chemically does not mimic estrogen, as it currently does, which is known to cause cancer in men and women at a very high rate. The university is very interested in her concept and asked that she prepare some research to present to them. If they get excited over it, then they will grant her a stipend and the facilities to carry out her research and development. Smart girl, she's a smart girl indeed. This would be groundbreaking in a few ways. One, her plant would possibly wipe out cancer caused by consuming this soy. Two, she would be quite famous and well off, don't you say? That would benefit this town and its people in countless ways, myself included. So I offered up a field and my equipment to give her a place to implement her studies. The university would pay me a leasing fee out of her research budget, and she even graciously promised me a nice royalty if everything works out. Now, another candle that lights up as a result of all this, Alfie. He enjoys beekeeping as a hobby, but always wanted to do more with it. I had once promised him if this farm ever made it up in the world, I would give him a place to indulge his beekeeping passions. Well, what do you need to start a beekeeping endeavor? Beehives, and beehives are made of wood. This lights up yet even another candle in this town, the sawmill. It's been closed and sitting empty for quite some time now. There's two reasons for its demise. One, I think, is actually quite silly if you ask me, but the first one isn't, and that is the cost of maintaining the equipment, the employee salaries, and the facilities for the product that doesn't garner a large-scale demand around here anymore. And not to mention, tax on shipping the wood out of the area was just too high. Secondly, they couldn't keep employees long enough to make a go of it, and it's not because they treated their employees badly. It was quite the opposite. They were overly generous, and that's another reason for their failure. But why were they so overly generous? Well, that story and much more will unfold in the next episode, which I'll have for you very soon. I'm not going to leave you hanging too long. All right, so let's treat ourselves and take our New Holland down to pick up our new old tractor. Well, that's the end of our little story for today, and I do hope you'll join me for the next rendition in just another day or two. But until then, please take great care of yourself, okay? And bye-bye for now.